It's pretty common that in Honkai Star Story and even in Genshin Impact, bits and pieces of lore are hidden behind side quests and companion adventures. During the events of Serval's companion quest, a rather interesting event occurred. When clearing the mines of Belobog's underworld from fragmentum beasts, the main character, Serval and Gepard, run into several monsters led by a powerful leader. While Gepard and Serval only heard the shrieks of the monsters, for some weird reason, the main character could actually understand them. Even more mysterious, this is so far the only place where this has happened. So why can the main character suddenly understand the leader of these monsters, despite having defeated many fragmentum beasts before this moment? Is there something special about it, or is this a precursor for things to come? Before we explore this ominous conspiracy, if you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's first rewind a bit and talk about Serval's quest first. Essentially, throughout the events of this quest, the main character follows Serval as she begins her preparations to leave Belobog, wanting to follow the Astral Express. The story explores why she wishes to leave and how, before the events of the main story, much of her life was largely destroyed due to Cocolia's actions. It's also revealed that Serval and Cocolia were actually once quite close, but after she assumed the role of the Supreme Guardian, and supposedly after the Stellaron corruption, Cocolia and Serval grew apart, largely due to a difference in beliefs. So Serval's story mostly revolves around her coming to terms with her past and moving beyond Cocolia's shadow and becoming her own person, getting closure for the mistreatment she experienced in the past. Anyways, towards the end of the quest, a problem surfaces in the underworld, and both Gepard and Serval accompany the main character as they try to resolve it. Apparently, fragmentum monsters have taken over the mines and are for some odd reason pushing people out. Coordinated attacks paired with their rather deliberate action makes Gepard question the whole situation and is quite suspicious of it. Before long, the party runs into the leader of this pack of monsters, and while most fragmentum monsters are often aggressive and attack on sight, this one seemed conscious of its actions. While the monster shrieks, Serval and Gepard ready themselves for battle, but this is where things become rather odd. For some reason, the main character is able to hear, at least partially understand, the monster's speech as it calls out for Serval and Gepard, specifically Serval.
The air... it's so cold.
Stellaron promises Serval.
Did it just talk? Steady. Get ready to counter its attack. Can Gepard not hear that?
Gepard, Serval, Londau.
Did it just say Gepard and Serval?
That noise! Do fragmentum monsters usually sound like this?
After the main character brings this up, Gepard mentions that he has heard rumors of monsters of this kind. Shadows in the fragmentum that assume human forms, which are echoes of the will of the past guardians. So while we don't know if this creature is Cocolia herself reborn, it seems that at the very least, the fragmentum has created something with some of her memories. What makes it even creepier is that after it dies, the monster even brings up how Serval always gets in her way, much like in real life. This really weird scene is not brought up again after this particular event, and Serval's story wraps up shortly after, with her making peace with her past. Now, while Serval's story was generally interesting, I can't help but wonder if this particular event was a one-off thing or a sign of things to come. Why exactly can the main character understand these monsters? Here is where we get into a bit of speculation and theory, so take the next part of this video with a grain of salt. My first guess is that it's related to the stellaron that the main character has embedded within them. It seems that while the stellaron exist separately from one another, they seem to have some sort of shared link. For example, the main character had dreams and was even able to hear the voice of the stellaron on Belobog, alluding to some kind of shared connection between them. It wouldn't be too difficult to accept considering they all likely came from the same source, the Eon of Destruction Nanook. The fragmentum is a corrupting phenomenon that stems from the stellaron itself, and as such, It also wouldn't be too out of this world for the MC to be able to understand or even be linked to these creatures to some degree, as they are largely originating from a stellaron itself. The members of the Intelligentsia Guild, through research, have also discovered that these fragmentums are able to collect and store information of the world around them, as well as create approximations. This is likely how a fragmentum monster with the memories of Cocolia could appear. So it's likely that due to the main character's stellaron, he could likely interpret these monsters via the connection that they have. An alternative idea could be related to the main character themselves. We don't really know what their past is and how they are even able to house a stellaron with seemingly no ill effects. It's possible that the main character may have some innate ability we are not aware of at this point that stems from their past. It could be something totally unique to them that just hasn't been revealed yet. Whatever the reason, there is one more interesting thought that I like to share. If you've played up to the part in the story where Kafka reveals the intentions of the Stellaron hunters, or if you've watched my video, card up here by the way, you'd know that one of the main goals they have is to build the main character up to be a hero. This is largely due to some future they foresee where the main character may need to go up against Nanook, and all the help they can get is essential to ensure victory. I do wonder whether the reason they shoved a stellaron into the main character is in preparation for this eventuality. More specifically, while the stellaron does supposedly impart some powers to the main character, the actions of the hunters also show that he would need an army to support him. So what if this connection to the fragmentum will eventually be the method in which the main character is able to raise an army? An army of fragmentum monsters directly linked to them. After all, you would need quite a large army to go against the forces of the Anti-Metal Legion before even reaching Nanook himself. Perhaps this is what Serval's quest hints at. Alternatively, it could just be a symbolic thing. The story about how Serval wants to move away from Cocolia's shadow and the monster being sort of a shadow of Cocolia may fit this narrative. In any case, this is largely an assumption at best, and we won't really know why these things are happening until much later. There might be a possibility that this particular story thread is even left unexplored in the future. That said, I do find the mystery surrounding the main character rather interesting, and who knows how the story will actually evolve. I'll end the video here for now. Let me know why you think the main character has this ability, and if you had fun watching the video, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.